good morning, guys. Welcome back to New Day TV, our show. This is the Tackle State of the Nation. This cold Tuesday morning, in fact, it is drizzling outside. This Nairobi weather is something else. Karibuni, I hope you had a great weekend, that you are safe and you're here with us. Kindly go to our socials, that is New Day TV on YouTube, on Facebook, comment, share, like, subscribe. Let's have a conversation there. And today's conversation is very interesting. With me, I am joined by... on my right, hata nimechanganyikiwa. Unajua nimezoea mkikaa left. So on my right, I have Irene Nyambura, who is a political analyst. And nice to have you, Irene. It is your first time here, but I know it will not be your last. David Maina, who is a friend of the show. And our guest, he's the chairman Vijana na Kazi, national chairman Vijana na Kazi. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
I would like you to introduce yourself quickly and maybe what you do. And then we jump right at it. Irene, ladies first.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Here we have manners.
I see. My name is Irene Nyambura, a political enthusiast, a politician in practicing. In 2022, I attempted my hand in Senate, Kiambu.
Wow.
Yeah, as an independent candidate. However...
You quickly realized.
I quickly realized. You know, one thing about Kenyan politics, najonga haujui. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Pale kwa ground.
Si pale kwa ground. The electoral system, as it is. Because my journey ended at the tribunal.
PPDT, Political Parties Tribunal.
No.
Dispute Tribunal?
I was an independent candidate.
That's for...
So that's a whole different conversation.
Actually, and I would like to... I know even our viewers would like to hear about that, because for political parties, we know if there are any disputes, you go to PPDT. So for independent candidates,
you have first,
what is the discourse you seek?
You first go to the tribunal. Alafu from the tribunal, now you go to the court.
Which tribunal is this?
The IBC tribunal. That's where the whole thing starts. You know?
Okay. Okay. Karibu sana. Nice to have you. And thank you for honoring our invite. David, wewe si mugeni, lakini bado tunakukaribisha.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me again.
Yeah.
I founded Vijana na Kazi as a network of young leaders from around the country. And we were looking at the best way to have our youth agenda on the table. And at that time, towards the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we decided to support William Ruto. We were already somewhat aligned, but that's when we decided to throw our full weight behind him, because we believed that he's the candidate who could, first of all, win elections, and then carry our aspirations as a younger generation, because the problem that we saw in Kenya, over and above even debt and all the problems that we've been facing since then, is the youth bulge. And if we mismanage this youth bulge, then we don't have a country to speak of. This is something that we've seen in other continents, Middle East, where you find there's rampant terrorism and such, a lot of crime in areas like South Africa and such. So we needed a leader who would be able to steer us in the right direction and deliver for us our agenda. And I think we were successful to a large extent, because in the manifesto that UDA produced, 70% of it is addressed at solving the problems of young people. So we continue to stand with the president because we believe in his vision and his agenda. And above all, we believe that he's going to succeed and that he's going to make a difference for this generation. And it's this generation that's going to reward him at the ballot in 2027.
Thank you very much, David. And... welcome, guys, to the show. Feel free. Hapa tunatoa maoni vile inafaa. And we tackle issues as they are. So we will quickly do a newspaper review. And some of on our dailies today, Taifa Leo has a headline that says, Mama Ngina nisamehe. That is by Deputy President Rigiji. And it says that naibu wa rais asema anamtambua Mama Ngina kama mzazi na mwanamke wa hadhi anayefaa kuheshimika katika ukanda wa Mlima Kenya na nchi kwa jumla. So there's that. And on the People's Daily, there's rain deaths and devastation. We saw ile mvua ya juzi. When was it? Sunday night?
Sunday night.
The videos are coming out of the expressway and even parts of the airport, I think. The floods were crazy. But I remember our Nairobi governor, there's a time he was preparing when we would have had the El Nino. and drainages were being redone, and clogged and all that. Hata kulikuwa na joke ya kwamba mmenunua boats. So again, it goes back to this thing that we keep talking about. And I think, David, we've had this conversation with you on this show where we are a very reactive country and not proactive. Because if the drainages had been done then, all we needed to do is maintain.
Yes.
But we've seen cars were being swept. In fact, there's a police officer who was swept on duty.
Tragically, yes.
Yeah, may his soul rest in peace. As he was trying to save our fellow Kenyans.
Yes.
That goes to show that small bouts of rain, that was just one night.
Yeah.
Guys, it was not even 1 week. Your thoughts? Nyambura? Naona hiyo imekuguza.
Today morning on my way here, I was listening to Sakaja say that he needs close to 20 billion to make the situation better. And now he was asking, do you give 20 billion to the situation or do you give to more pressing issues? And then you wonder, until when shall we live in spaces where when it rains,
things come to a standstill.
Everything goes haywire, We need to, like you've said, we need to be a proactive nation. We need to be thinking ahead about these things because these things they've been with us for a very long time, And you get to wonder, the people who are constructing this, like the expressway, were they not thinking about what was the
drainage situation?
Yeah. It leaves a lot to be.
But also, as we are constructing stuff, there should be a symbiotic relationship because, for example, the fact that the expressway goes over the road, it means that the drainage coming down, so on the ground, literally, there's a clog. So it doesn't matter what the person anajenga ya juu afanye if nyinyi wa chini hamcooperate.
Yeah.
David, Kenya's jobless, and this one I am throwing to you because you just talked about the reason why Vijana and Kazi supported UDA or caucused around President William Ruto was because you saw that he was the man for the job and that he would make a difference in the lives of young people. So the Business Daily says Kenya's jobless engineers, doctors fight for gig work. It is very unfortunate that the brightest and sharpest of our society, given how the education system had been until now, 844, by the time when you talk for engineering or med, it means you are A material, Sharpest and brightest of our society are now hustling for gig jobs. Like, unajua, nipeka contract hapa, ka consultancy hapa. It is really sad because what does that even tell the next generation? That, remember when we were growing up, we were always, can I say conditioned, that, soma ukwe daktari, soma ukwe engineer, But now these are some of the most ridiculed jobs, the most, it's like they're not taken care of. What does that say to the next generation? Does it even inspire hope? Kama ni daktari tunaona akidemonstrate. We are used to demonstration for you politicians, not for the professionals, and especially at such levels. David?
Let me weigh in on the drainage issue. Mm-hmm. This is a problem that even the colonial government had, because if you look at where Nairobi is, Nairobi was chosen for its strategic location. It's south of Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is a breadbasket. So this was a swamp originally. And they had to, drain this entire swamp, and there were lions walking around all around the city. They used to shoot at lions from Norfolk. So when they drained the swamp, in order to create an urban center where they could work out their logistics with the farm produce, then these drainage problems started coming through. And they would discuss this in the British Parliament as well. So for us, I think what we've seen is, a massive growth in Nairobi as a city, because at first it wasn't, as populated. But right now, I think during the day we have a population of 7 million, and at night a population of 4 million, right? And that burden continues to grow. And I think Sakaja said that by 2050 we'll have 15 million Nairobians. So that is probably 3 times more than we already have today. So if we were to fix our drainage, we'll have to fix it with the future in mind, because the people who fixed it, who created Nairobi's drainage were not thinking about us today. So that drainage will have to, be a bigger investment than we've made before. And Nairobi is also becoming, a global capital of sorts. So I think the investment that's going to be made in drainage has to be a much, much bigger one. And as much as we have these issues, the El Nino is a weather event that's, out of the norm. So I think these are just some of the problems we'll have with the climate as we move forward. But I think government has its head in the right place when it comes to these issues.
Not to be refuted, but also remember, the other thing about city planning and urban planning, it is that planning. But when you look at Nairobi as a city, hata ukikuwa tu pale mtaani kwako, you see things mushrooming from left, right, and center that have haina kichwa wala miguu. You understand? And it is quite sad because I feel like this city should be planned in a better way. Unfortunately, what happens is, I am not saying it is the case, but sometimes, kama uko na kitu, mahali hata ufai kujenga, unajenga. Some of these officials at City Hall and anywhere else that gives licensing and permits and stuff like that, don't follow what the urban plan for Nairobi is. Because I remember last week there's been a conversation about Kileleshwa, Kilimani, Lavington becoming pipeline, so to say. And it might have been said as a joke, but I understand the concern in a way that we need to plan our city in a better way. You cannot be having 10 houses here that are maisonets. On the right, you have 20 that are 30 floors apartments. You understand? Even if we decide, yes, it is apartments, but do it in a way that makes sense. Because even for those drainages to work, all of you have to be in tandem. There's no way this area has been designated for such kind of housing development. Where unakuja unaeka 30 floors apartment, what do? You strain the already meager resources.
But I think that's how cities look around the world.
No.
In New York, you'll find a townhouse and you'll find a skyscraper.
But you see,
these things happen.
As they were planning, David, at the point of inception is you plan for the future. But the problem is we are straining already strained resources. So in that particular area, hata hakuna plan ya kuraise such a building. Unashika. Like you're saying, if we are to redo these things, we need to redo with the future in mind.
Exactly.
Alafu unajua, so even to make matters worse, with what you've said hapo mbele, history has it that this was a swampy area.
Yeah.
So going forward, we shouldn't move. We should be thinking with that in mind. We should be planning with that in mind. This is a swampy area, and so of precedence should be the drainage system. If you want to have these skyscrapers and everything, it's just common sense. It does not make sense at all. And now when it rains, everything now comes to a standstill. It doesn't make sense at all.
Years and years over. We almost kind of know the hotspots.
But you see, even that money for that drainage is going to come from these taxpayers who are now living in these new 25-floor buildings. So in a way, it's
David, we do not dispute the tax issue. We do not dispute the budgetary allocation issue.
Yes.
But we cannot have, for example, the Sakaja government talk about that issue. And then the next government, if Governor Sakaja doesn't come in, throws it away or decides that, you know what, this project ilikuwa ya Sakaja pambana hali yake. Because we've seen that happen sometimes.
It is happening.
That is the saddest part. Anyway, moving on. Families of dead rich men battle for billions. That is the star. And the faces there are the second president of the country. That is Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. And then there's the third president. I hope you are seeing the precedents. That is Mwai Kibaki. Then there's Michuki. There's Nyachai. There's Jackson Kibor. Ule mulikuwa mnamuita chairman wa men's conference. And then there's the Rai family. So, hapo kwa inheritance, watu wanapigana mangumi. Anyway, Daily Nation, again at the top, we have Rigiji telling Mama Ngina, Mama, please forgive us. And then the headline is, Jobs dispute that may cripple KRA. I think, again, it was you we discussed with the issue of recruitment and how it was done and why it went to court. And now KRA are saying that a court order barring Kenya Revenue Authority from hiring is threatening to paralyze in operations and undermine revenue collection, with the taxman now finding itself in the middle of human resource storm as contracts for over 50 senior managers are set to expire amid a staff shortage of 4,000 that has persisted over the years. So, you know, when government agency like KRA is taken to court for having skewed recruitments, and then come out to cry foul like this, it is unfair even to Kenyans. Because as a taxman, in fact, hao ndio wanafaa kuwa wana set example. Yeah, best practices. Because we trust them with our money, we trust them with our revenue collection. If we cannot trust you with recruitment, surely.
What can we trust you with?
You understand? So for them to cry foul to say that they are now short-staffed, surely, at the point of interviews and hiring, also you people, what were you thinking?
You know, I think...
Not you in particular, but you know,
No,
I'm
but
throwing the question to
we're Kenyans
KRA.
in general, and I think the president was clear now that there's nobody who's not a shareholder. All Kenyans are shareholders in the government. So it's our government. So we should discuss it as our own thing. I think with KRA, it has a bigger mandate in this administration than it had before. I remember when we were campaigning, our target for the first year's collections were 2.8 trillion. That's the amount of money that would have allowed us to hit the ground running. But we're not able to hit those collection targets. So I think with all the extra work that KRA has to do, I think there's going to be a higher need for human resourcing outside of the recruitments. So the recruitments have to be looked at again because of what came out. And I still stand by what I said before. It depends on the effort of an MP. The president said that there's some jobs that people are told about, and the MPs have no idea that they're supposed to look for people to send to other countries. So if you find an MP who's overworking, like let's say in Nyoro, then he'll go and make sure that those slots are filled by the people in his constituency. If you go to, let's say, somewhere else in Rift Valley, because these are people in UDA, they understand what's going on, yeah? They'll look for those opportunities. But you find some legislators from other places don't really care, they don't attend parliament, they don't read bills.
David, what I want to see is the list of the people who applied. Let us see how many people applied for those jobs and from where. So that by the time we are making your pronouncement, is that kulikuwa na mtu Turukana, kulikuwa na mtu Lamu, kulikuwa na mtu Taita Taveta, kulikuwa na mtu Kisii. You understand?
Yes.
I want to see the report of the people who applied for that job. Because as we know, and we've seen it before, sometimes even a job is advertised for 5 positions, but even 1,000 people will apply because of the need that we have in the country right now. For sure, is that a huge number of Kenyans, young Kenyans for that matter, applied for those jobs. And from several corners of this country. So we want to see the report of the people who applied vis-a-vis, juxtaposition the two. So that we are making these pronouncements, for sure we will see, kama my county where I come from, hakuna mtu ali-apply, and that is why kwa kina David, walichukuliwa X amount. You get it? Then we will have this argument of MP wa David, amechangamuka. You know? And the standard, quickly, before we finish, Gachagua walks back on the Kenyatta attacks. So as we've seen, he ameshinda akisema pole mama, and we recognize you as a leader also and our mother in Mount Kenya. But hapo chini, it says in Nairobi when it rains, it pours. You understand? And so it speaks about the issue that we just touched on, that we need to do better. And our governor goes by the slogan, lazima iwak. Lakini so far, inaturamba bwana. Do you know that I could not believe that in those few hours, and it didn't start raining at early. It started raining maybe around 10, yeah? Up until maybe 5 a.m. But you can see the kind of damage it did, including loss of lives. So imagine it rains like that for a week. You know? And we have school-going kids. What does that say? It's not even safe for them to go to school the next morning. But, so quickly to our viewers, we are introducing today's conversation. And tunapeleka gear namna hiyo vile tulikuwa tumeingia. Irene,
yes.
I am glad to have you today here because I have been looking for someone to discuss this issue with. It is dear to my heart. The launch of the G7 strategic launch of the G7. So G7, to those maybe who are not familiar, is the Women Governors Caucus. There are 7 women governors, and the G stands for governor. So G7, they launched, maybe it was just the day before International Women's Day, right?
Yeah.
And part of their strategy is to grow the numbers from 7 to 16, then to 24. 24 will be at least 50%. David, itawaramba. We are this gender issue, we have been fighting, but finally we might be on the good things end. So we saw the president categorically support that launch. That is one. And I will say it again. I give it to the president for the political goodwill that has been going on, especially around the women conversation.
Are you sure about that? Can you say about
with my chest? Yes, I can say it with my chest because, and I will just give live examples of things that are I know in the cabinet, as he had promised in the UDA Women Charter, there was supposed to be a 50-50 hire. I cannot speak for UDA. That is why David is here. But I can speak on the after. When we saw the appointments of the ambassadors and the deputy heads of mission and deputy ambassadors, out of 16, I think, we had 10 women ambassadors and 6 deputy ambassadors and deputy missions of head. So that made 16. It was more than half. And then his memorandum to parliament, this is now where I say I give it to him, because in his 100 days, the memorandum to parliament, part of his agenda, it was a 4-point memorandum, right? Was the 2/3 gender rule. What this 2/3 gender rule has always lacked, it has never been the framework, it has never been the formula, it is the political goodwill. And not just political goodwill from the top. Because as we know, KK has majority right now in parliament. If the president keeps going with this momentum, and when the time comes for that bill to be voted, because it's in this politics of ours, it's never over until it is over, please. Usifunge hata hivi macho, it kuramba. So it continues like that. All he needs to do is to call the leader of majority, to whip his members to vote for that bill. The same way the multi-sectoral working group went to see Baba. And so also what it will need to happen, rather, is he will call his leader of minority, Opio and I, whip his members. Kalonzo as well, they went to see him. So it is political goodwill from the top, the people that we needed. Because it's one thing for David as an MP wa huko kwao kusema, hey, tunasupport wa mama, lakini akifika pale kwa kupiga kura, anaingia mitini.
Sure.
But if David knows that his party leader will come down raining on him, it means hata kama alikuwa tutoke, he will change his mind. You understand? So I am hoping that this momentum remains until the time for voting, because I don't know what happens at that time for voting. Sijui itabidi tu kila mtu. In fact, there's a lady who said during I went for an event called People's Dialogue Festival. It was in Nairobi University, organized by Center for Multi-Party Democracy. And she said we need to adopt something called Adopt an MP. So we give David, no, not you, utaturuka. We give Nyambura, we give Nyambura
track record of
someone who she will keep on check. For example, if your MP is someone you can reach. Na najua ni kiongozi, yo ni mtu you can reach. Even if not whip per se or keep in check per se, but someone you can keep having conversations that, hey Mwesh, hii kitu inakuja bunge, what do you think? Hey Mwesh, just to also remind them keep that tunakuona na tunakutegemea, please upige hii kura. So for me that is what I allowed the president for. And then so the framework was done well. In fact, we were so close during the Duale bill. Hey, me, I don't know what happened. Even me, I cannot explain what happened. I was in pain. In fact, I have never recovered. And then part of the recommendation is to adopt because now in this parliament, it is said that we need 50 more women for us to get to the 2/3 gender rule. So the recommendation even to the president is that let's do it in this assembly. I don't know how viable that is. Of course, political parties will have to come in. Irene, what do you think? This time around, what do you think of the framework? Uko na maoni gani? Again, I will give you the floor first.
I think we were talking about this with David before. I heard Kimani Ichung'wah say that away from the even G16 to G24, it should be G47. Alisema, no, the quote I saw, alisema, this governance seat should be left for the women. Yeah? At some point he said that.
What was his?
Because they're performing.
Why? They're performing?
They're really performing, you know? And
that's what he said. David, you don't agree that they are performing?
No, I 100% agree.
Oh,
okay.
Tutakununulia chai.
So for me, I feel it's about time. It's about time that, like you've said, political goodwill, wrap up the ribbon on top. Because ukiangalia, when you look at Kenya, we are really lagging behind at 23.3%. Yeah? Ukiangalia wenzetu pale Rwanda at 60.
Mkiwaambia, you are dictatorship.
61%. Wamebeba karibu kila kitu.
You know?
Alafu we are doing badly in East Africa.
Actually, yes. We are among the... Huko, tumeshikilia mkia.
Tunakimbizana pale na Burundi, unajua the state of... Sorry to say so, the state of Burundi. Sasa unashindwa, tutaangalia wapi, honestly.
I get you. Given how advanced we are
as a people,
I'm not even bragging, it's just the truth.
It's very true.
And I will say it with my chest. Given how advanced we are, even amongst our peers. Na unajua tu wa Kenya tunakuanga na, I don't want to say it, but tunakuanga na knowing. Tunajuanga sana. So, like, it is expected of us to even be leading in such things.
True.
But it is the inverse.
Yeah.
David, your thoughts? I know you are a champion for he for she. He's a he for she champion.
For me, I see it as an economic imperative. Yeah. What opened my mind to the fact that we should remove all blocks for women in politics was a quote by Warren Buffett at one of his year-end speeches. He told people that when you include women, then you maximize the total number of goods and services that a country can produce. What that means is that everybody is better off economically when we're using the full talents of everyone in society.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not just a thing about women, it's also about younger people. Because there's a lot of talent that's being blocked somewhere, just like a lot of women are being blocked.
The gatekeeping.
For one reason or another. So for me, my understanding of the Constitution is that gender 2/3 is to be achieved progressively.
Yes.
So when we were campaigning and our president, who was the deputy president at the time, said that he was going to have a 50% cabinet, he also had he had an ambition that he would be able to pass the 2/3 gender bill by the first year. But there were interruptions, maandamano and such. So I think with that bill, then that's when you'd have mainstreaming of gender within the government. So as much as we're not able to give 50% of cabinet to women, I think we gave that's a third.
We're not
Don't even try. Do not even try. David,
is 2/3
order, please.
gender.
You are out of order. Don't even try.
No.
Over 22.
If you say something, do according to what you told the people. Acha kuja kutuambia at least we did. No.
There's no at least.
No.
You see, the spirit of the Constitution says that we achieve it progressively.
David, let me tell you.
So it means that in September 2022, you might have 8 female CSs, but by the end of 2024, let's say we've done the gender 2/3, then you can even find a situation where there are 50% gender CSs.
I was privileged enough.
CSs.
Yes, I was privileged enough to go through the UDA Women Charter, like I did for many political parties, because there are things I was specifically angling at, And one of the promises he made, it is in your charter, Easy Historia Streets, was that. You understand? And like when I said I lauded him for the things that I mentioned, Irene almost removed my neck because he said,